It turns out that even when your messages are encrypted, and even when you've set them to disappear, a quiet flaw in the way Apple handles notifications was leaving a trail of breadcrumbs for law enforcement to follow. Apple recently released an emergency security patch, specifically iOS 26.4.2, to address a vulnerability that essentially allowed the FBI to bypass the legendary security of apps like Signal. Now, to be clear, the FBI didn't break Signal's encryption. That's still considered gold standard security. Instead, they took a side door through the iPhone's own operating system. The story broke after a federal trial in Texas involving an investigation into an attack on a detention center. Court documents revealed that FBI forensic examiners were able to recover incoming Signal messages from a defendant's iPhone. This was shocking because the defendant had already deleted the Signal app and had been using the disappearing messages feature. Normally, that should have meant the data was gone forever. However, investigators found that iOS was internally storing message previews in a push notification database. Even after the app was uninstalled and the messages were deleted, those notification fragments remained in the device's internal memory. Apple's official security notes described the issue quite simply, stating that notifications marked for deletion could be unexpectedly retained on the device. Think about that for a second. You go through the effort of using a privacy-focused app, you delete your history, and you even delete the app itself, yet the phone's own notification system is keeping a secret log of what people said to you. It's like shredding a confidential letter, but leaving the envelope with a summary written on the back sitting in your trash can. The update Apple pushed, which is also available as iOS 18.7.8 for those on older hardware, fixes this by improving how the system redacts data. It essentially goes in and scrubs those ghost notifications so they aren't sitting there waiting for a forensic tool to find them. Now, some might argue that if you have nothing to hide, this shouldn't matter. But privacy is a fundamental right, and for journalists, activists, or even just regular citizens, the expectation that deleted means deleted is a cornerstone of digital trust. If you appreciate these kinds of deep dives into how your tech actually works and want to stay ahead of the next big security flaw, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us keep the lights on and keep bringing you these updates. So, how did this happen? It largely comes down to default settings. In the case involving the FBI, the user had their Signal notification set to show a preview on the lock screen. When that happens, iOS takes that text and stores it in a cache so it can display it to you quickly. The flaw was that Apple wasn't properly clearing that cache when the message was deleted or the app was removed. Signal's president, Meredith Whittaker, has been vocal about this, thanking Apple for the fix, but pointing out that the burden shouldn't just be on the app developers. If the operating system is leaking data through notifications, the app's encryption can only do so much. If you want to be extra safe moving forward, even after you've installed the latest update, there is a manual step you can take. Inside your Signal settings, or the settings of any sensitive app, look for the Notification section. You can change your Show settings from Name and Message to Name Only, or even No Name or Content. By doing this, you're telling your iPhone not to store that text in the notification database in the first place. This situation is a perfect example of the cat and mouse game between tech companies and law enforcement. As encryption gets stronger, investigators look for metadata, logs, and system artifacts to piece together what was said. It also highlights why zero-day or out-of-band updates from Apple are so important. They don't usually push these minor version numbers unless it's a critical fix for a flaw that's actively being used or has been exposed in a high-profile way. If you haven't checked your settings lately, go to General, then Software Update. If you see version 26.4.2 or 18.7.8 waiting for you, don't ignore it. It's not just a minor bug fix, it's a direct response to a real-world privacy breach. We live in an age where our devices know more about us than almost anyone else, and it's up to us to make sure we're using the tools available to keep that information private. Installing these patches is the easiest way to do just that. Thanks for watching, and stay secure.